If you were to ask me, a man who has walked through 70 springs and has accompanied countless patients to the final chapter of their lives, "Doctor, if you could return to 60, how would you live?" I would answer without hesitation. I would live differently, I would live slower, I would live deeper, and I would be grateful for every single moment. Over decades working in a nursing home, I have witnessed the late tears of countless elders, professors, businessmen, engineers, once warriors of life, once dreamers and achievers. Yet at the window of their final days, they all whispered the same fragile regret. If only I could go back to 60. They didn't mourn the accolades they collected or the fortunes they amassed. What truly ached in their hearts were the simple things: the health they neglected to protect, the evenings they missed with family, the love and kindness they failed to show themselves when it mattered most. 60 in a human life is not a downhill slope as many fear. It is a crossroads, the place where your choices will decide. Will your old age bloom like a garden in spring, or will it dry into a desert filled with memories and regret? A major study has proven your habits at 60 determine 85% of the quality of your next 20 years. Only 15% is left to luck. I have seen grandmothers at 85 riding their bicycles to the morning market, humming songs from their youth. And I have seen men in their 70s trapped in wheelchairs by a body they once trusted, not because fate was cruel, but because of small, forgotten choices. Choosing not to walk 30 minutes a day, choosing to ignore a twinge of pain, choosing to tell themselves, "I'm still fine," and so postponing care until one day it was too late. If you are in your 50s or 60s now, please do not underestimate the power of small things. A 30-minute walk each day can slash your risk of dementia by up to 65%. Drinking enough water can keep your kidneys strong into your 90s. 7 hours of sleep is the greatest gift you can give your heart, and every time you learn something new, even something as simple as using a smartphone, you are weaving another shield around your precious memory. But you see, keeping your body strong is still not enough to live a happy old age. You must also learn to protect your heart. Do not place the burden of your happiness entirely on others, not even on the children you love so deeply. I have witnessed too many parents who poured out their love and wealth into their children, only to find themselves counting loneliness day after day in a cold, silent room. It wasn't that their children were heartless. It was that love, when built on blind sacrifice, always leaves scars. Children need you to be like a sturdy, comforting tree, not a hollow trunk that has given away all its life sap. You must remember, you have the right to live for yourself first. You have the right to set aside a small fund for your own final years, to cherish simple joys, a book, a cup of tea, a circle of faithful friends, and above all, please, do not fear loneliness. Loneliness does not kill you, running from loneliness does. Learn to sit quietly by yourself, savoring a book, tending to a small garden, writing a few lines of gratitude each morning. You will see, when you give thanks for the little things, a patch of warm sunlight, a humble meal, a kind word, your heart grows young again, no matter how many years pass. Because you know what? A single small habit at 60 can transform your entire life at 80. Now, if I told you that there are simple, specific steps you could begin today, steps that would let you stroll through your later years as if wandering through a radiant garden, would you be willing to listen a little longer? If there is one regret that echoes louder than all others in the quiet corridors of the nursing home, it is this: neglecting one's health. Too many times, I have sat by the bedside of men and women who once walked through life with strength and purpose, only to hear them whisper with a broken voice, "Doctor, I thought it was just a small pain. I thought it would go away on its own." They brushed off the early warnings, skipped their medical checkups, and convinced themselves that a little ache, a little fatigue was nothing to worry about. Life was busy. Responsibilities piled up, and somewhere along the way they forgot that even the strongest trees can fall if rot begins at the roots. At 60, the body no longer shouts. It speaks in soft, almost imperceptible murmurs. A subtle ache here, a moment of breathlessness there, a persistent sense of tiredness that wasn't there before. These are not accidents. They are quiet letters your body sends you asking for attention. If you listen closely and act, you can still change the course of your future. But if you dismiss them, if you wave them away with the casual arrogance of "I'm fine," then you are unknowingly stepping onto a path that will lead you toward a fragile old age you could have avoided. I remember vividly a man named Mr. Kang, a proud gentleman who had never once been hospitalized in his 60 years. When his wife began complaining of a persistent headache, he reassured her with a smile, "Just rest a little, it will pass." He was busy, always busy, and there was always something seemingly more urgent than a trip to the doctor. By the time he finally listened, by the time the tests were done, it was too late. A late-stage brain tumor had already taken hold, and within 6 months she was gone. Mr. Kang lived on, but not with peace. He carried with him a lifelong sorrow, a relentless guilt he could never erase. "Doctor," he told me once, with tears falling onto his wrinkled hands, "one decision, one single moment of neglect, turned my whole life into a living hell." You see, illnesses in our 70s and 80s do not suddenly appear out of nowhere. They are planted quietly, invisibly during our 60s, like seeds left unattended, growing into thorns that one day pierce without warning. When you finally feel the full weight of disease, it is often already too late to undo what could have been so easily prevented. Studies show that the habits you form at 60 determine 85% of your health and vitality 2 decades later. It is not fate, it is choice. Repeated daily, quietly, and persistently. This is why I tell every patient who sits across from me, health will not wait for you. It will not forgive delay. If you do not honor it today, it may not be there when you need it most. The tragedy is not in aging itself. Aging is natural, beautiful even, but in how many people arrive at their later years broken not by age, but by the consequences of years of casual neglect. But here lies the hope I want to offer you. It does not require grand, heroic changes to alter your future. Even the smallest shifts, a daily walk, a commitment to stay hydrated, a few minutes lifting your heels to keep your blood flowing strong, can lay the foundation for a life of dignity, of movement, of clarity. It is not about punishing yourself with impossible regimens. It is about honoring the body that has carried you this far, about giving yourself the gift of strength for the road ahead. And so you may be wondering now, "Doctor, if I have already wasted time, what can I do today? What small steps are still within my reach?" My answer is simple, and if you will walk with me a little longer, I will share with you the golden habits that, if begun even now, can transform not just your body, but the very experience of growing older itself. There is another regret that rests heavily on the hearts of those who have lived long enough to understand what truly matters: the regret of losing precious time with family. For many, life at 60 was a whirlwind of obligations, work projects, business ventures, social expectations, all deemed urgent, all demanding immediate attention. And so they postponed the simple things: a shared meal, a slow evening walk, a few moments spent listening to a grandchild's laughter. They told themselves there would be time later, but life, as it always does, hurried forward without waiting. When they finally looked up from their busy hands, they found that their children had grown distant, their partners had aged, and the quiet, everyday intimacy they once took for granted had quietly withered away. No accolade, no financial success, no worldly achievement could fill that void. In the end, it is not the awards you miss, it is the conversations you didn't have, the embraces you didn't give, the shared silences you never made time for. Closely tied to that is the regret of poor financial management after retirement. Many people, upon receiving their pension or retirement fund, feel a surge of relief and freedom. It is tempting, intoxicating even, to indulge in long postponed luxuries. expensive vacations, lavish gifts, new hobbies pursued without care for the cost. But the truth is harsher than the initial thrill. Medical emergencies, inflation, unexpected expenses, these come uninvited, and they come relentlessly. I have seen too many proud, self-reliant elders reduced to financial insecurity within just a few short years, not because they lacked money to begin with, but because they lacked a plan. They failed to respect the simple truth that retirement savings, no matter how large, must stretch across an unknown number of years. Years that can be long, beautiful, and dignified, or years filled with quiet fear of running out. And so the great tragedy unfolds, not poverty from lack of ability, but poverty born of forgetfulness, of short-sighted joy that left nothing for the future. Neglecting physical exercise is another silent thief that robs people of a vibrant old age. Muscles do not vanish overnight. They erode quietly, invisibly, when movement becomes rare, when strength is no longer nurtured. I have watched patients who once climbed mountains now struggle to lift a spoon, not because of sudden catastrophe, but because of years spent sitting instead of walking, resting instead of stretching, choosing convenience over vitality. It is a cruel reality. Once muscle is lost in old age, it is extraordinarily difficult to regain. Movement is not merely exercise, it is independence, dignity, and life itself. Without it, the world shrinks. From a bustling community to a single armchair, from a vibrant life to a narrow, isolated existence. Another deep sorrow I have witnessed is the lack of preparation for loneliness. Many enter their 60s and 70s believing that family ties alone will shield them from solitude. They place the weight of their emotional well-being on their children and grandchildren, expecting that frequent visits, calls, and gatherings will fill every empty space. But life does not bend to our hopes. Children grow, they marry, they move away, they have their own struggles, their own families, their own labyrinth of demands. And so, when the expected calls do not come, when weekends pass in silence, a heavy sadness seeps in. Not because the children are unloving, but because no one, not even the dearest child, can carry the responsibility for another's happiness indefinitely. Those who did not cultivate their own friendships, hobbies, and inner peace find themselves lost in a loneliness far deeper than absence. The loneliness of misplaced expectation. Equally heartbreaking is the regret of having sacrificed too much for children. I have sat across from countless parents who, with trembling hands and broken hearts, confessed that they had given everything. Every penny, every piece of property, every ounce of their strength, believing that such sacrifice would secure love, loyalty, and gratitude. Yet once their resources were gone, they found themselves left behind. Their once buzzy homes now filled with silence, their hearts aching with betrayal they never imagined possible. It is one of life's harshest lessons. Love cannot be bought with sacrifice. True connection is built not on what you give, but on who you are, on the respect, wisdom, and quiet presence you offer, not the material wealth you surrender. Finally, there is the softest, but perhaps the most poignant regret of all, the failure to treasure simple joys. So many people, even as they neared the twilight of their lives, continued to chase after achievements. Bigger houses, grander titles, endless milestones that, once reached, offered only fleeting satisfaction. In their pursuit of more, they overlooked the small, golden moments that had been quietly offered all along. A cup of tea shared with a friend, the laughter of a child, the beauty of a sunset, the comfort of a familiar melody. It is a bitter realization to understand too late that happiness was never hidden behind distant mountains. It was always there, in the small, unremarkable moments we so often dismiss as ordinary. And so, dear listener, if you are walking through your 50s or 60s now, I urge you, not with urgency, but with a deep and quiet hope, to pause, to listen, to recognize that your greatest treasures are already within reach. Health, family, financial wisdom, movement, emotional resilience, self-respect, and gratitude for simple joys. These are not grand, unattainable dreams. They are small seeds you can plant today, seeds that will grow into a radiant, abundant life no matter how many birthdays you have already celebrated. And if you are wondering how to begin, how to turn these reflections into real daily change, then come with me and I will show you, because it is never too late to choose a different path, and it is never too late to bloom again. And so, if you are ready, if something within you stirs with the desire to choose differently, to walk a gentler, wiser road, let me offer you 5 golden habits. They are not complex, they do not require great strength or youth or fortune. They only ask for your patience, your sincerity, and a heart willing to begin again, even now. The first habit is as simple as it is powerful. Walk every day. A mere 30 minutes of walking at your own gentle pace is enough to change the very architecture of your future. Studies have shown that consistent walking reduces the risk of dementia by 65%, strengthens your heart, preserves your muscles, and fills your days with the silent, living music of movement. Walking reconnects you with the world around you, the sky, the trees, the quiet smiles of strangers, and perhaps most importantly, it reconnects you with yourself. It is a daily declaration. I am still alive. I am still moving forward. The second habit is to drink water, not when you feel thirsty, but as an act of conscious care. The aging body needs hydration to function well, to flush out toxins, to keep the kidneys working, to sustain clarity of thought and lightness of being. Research shows that drinking enough water can reduce the risk of kidney disease by nearly 80%. Yet it is so easy to forget, to substitute tea or coffee or sweetened drinks, to tell ourselves that a few sips are enough. They are not. Water is life itself, flowing through your veins, nourishing every cell. To drink water is to honor your body in the most fundamental, tender way. The third habit is to protect your sleep as you would protect a precious jewel. Aim for 7 hours of true, restful sleep each night, not stolen moments with the television flickering in the background, but real surrender to the rhythms of rest your body has long yearned for. Adequate sleep reduces the risk of cardiovascular disease by nearly half, strengthens memory, boosts mood, and arms you with the resilience to meet each day with steadier hands and a calmer heart. Sleep is not a weakness, it is your body's deepest, most sacred form of repair. The fourth habit is to nourish your muscles with the right foods, particularly proteins. As we age, our muscle mass naturally declines, but we can slow that loss dramatically with mindful nutrition. Increasing your intake of healthy proteins, found in fish, legumes, nuts, and lean meats, can reduce the risk of sarcopenia, the wasting away of strength, by more than 50%. Remember, maintaining your muscles is not about vanity. It is about maintaining your ability to live freely, to carry your own groceries, to rise from a chair without struggle, to embrace life with arms that still remember how to hold. And finally, the fifth habit, perhaps the most beautiful of them all, is to awaken your mind with something new. Take up a new hobby, learn a new instrument, read about a subject you know nothing of. Engage in puzzles, games, conversations that stretch you beyond what is familiar. Studies show that stimulating the brain can slow cognitive decline by up to 40%. But beyond statistics, there is a simple, radiant truth. Curiosity keeps the spirit young. Every time you learn something new, you say to the universe, I am still growing, I am still alive. These 5 habits are not burdens, they are not chores. They are gifts, small daily acts of love you can give to yourself, and if you weave them into your life now, they will become the sturdy bridge that carries you into a radiant, resilient old age. I have seen it with my own eyes. Patients who chose these habits at 60 moved into their 80s and 90s with a light in their eyes, with stories still blossoming on their tongues, with bodies that bent but did not break. Their lives were not free of sorrow, no life ever is, but their joys were richer, their spirits more luminous, their days stitched together with gratitude rather than regret. And so I ask you, with all the gentleness of a doctor who has walked long enough to understand what truly matters, will you take the first step today? Because it is never too late, and you, my dear friend, are not too late. And so, if you are still here with me now, sitting quietly with these thoughts resting in your chest, then know this. You have already taken the first and perhaps the most difficult step, to pause amidst the noise of daily life, to listen not with impatience but with openness, to let someone else's long years of living gently touch your own. This is not a small thing. Many people rush past their own lives too busy or too afraid to look closely. They believe, wrongly, that time will wait for them, that health will stay loyal, that relationships will heal themselves without tending. But you, by simply staying here, by choosing to listen with your heart, have already begun to shift the ground beneath your feet. The truth is, the future is not something that suddenly strikes us from some unknown place. It is something we shape each day, quietly, often without realizing it. Every small decision, every tiny act of care or neglect lays a brick on the path you will one day walk more slowly. When you drink water with intention, you are choosing vitality. When you take an evening walk instead of surrendering to another passive hour, you are choosing freedom. When you sleep deeply, when you nourish your muscles, when you dare to learn even one small new thing, you are telling life itself, I am still here, I am still growing. And perhaps most sacred of all, every time you open your arms to another, a family member, a friend, or even yourself, and offer time, patience, presence, instead of more distractions, you are weaving a kind of golden thread through your later years, one that no sorrow can easily unravel. Old age, as I have witnessed again and again, is not a punishment, not a slow extinguishing of who you are. It is, if you allow it, the slow and radiant blooming of a deeper, quieter beauty. A beauty that only reveals itself when you are no longer racing toward achievement, when you have learned to sit with life instead of constantly outrunning it. This kind of aging does not come from luck. It comes from the gentle discipline of choosing to honor your health, your spirit, your small daily joys. It comes from planting seeds not because you expect instant fruit, but because you trust in the quiet power of seasons. Even now, no matter how many years you believe have been wasted, you can begin again. You can plant new seeds today. You can walk a new path that leads you not into loneliness and regret, but into gardens filled with soft laughter, strong legs, clear memories, and a heart full of peace. And when the time comes, as it will come for all of us, when you sit beside your own window, watching the sunlight stretch across the floor, I hope you will not murmur to yourself, if only. I hope you will smile with a quiet, radiant satisfaction, knowing that you chose while you still had the chance to live your later years with courage, tenderness, and full-hearted presence. Life will not always be easy, no life ever is, but it can be full, it can be meaningful, it can be beautiful in ways you have not even imagined yet.